want to just seek your face more. We acknowledge you in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, Lord, we just bring you these. I bring you these little fish, little loaves, not much. But would you feed us? We need feeding today. We don't want to mess around, and we really need feeding. I just pray for each person here to be fed. Amen. So we had a wonderful weekend away a few weeks ago. Outstanding, breathtaking preaching from Rodney on Jesus. I just want to encourage, if you missed any of that, or if it gets a bit boring today, just go out and just listen to those instead. Go out in the foyer, just listen to that, if I'm droning on a bit. Because it was breathtaking, just to hear, to put our eyes on Jesus and see the different facets of Jesus and just stare at him and spend a whole week just looking at our Savior, our Redeemer. So we've had quite a bit of a break from the series that we've been on, the Sermon on the Mount, looking at Jesus, which is who was the speaker at the Sermon on the Mount. So we were looking at the person who said the Sermon on the Mount. And we're just going to try and get back into that series. But now we're a little bit out of order as well, because I've jumped ahead. Today we're looking at salt of the earth to be the light of the world. But actually Angus is going to be speaking on the verse before this, which is about suffering. And so, sorry, just that's the way it is. Salt, bringing out the flavor, taste, preserving, precious, and yet ubiquitous everywhere. That's what salt is like. Light, shining and guiding those around us to Jesus, not to us. Glorifying God as a result of our saltiness. We'll look at some application at the end about salt, the life of Naomi and Ruth. And where am I going to go with this? I feel just from the words today and from the prayer meeting, God has guided me to give a flavor of suffering, which is actually what we're going to look at next week. But I'm just going to bring a bit of that in. And joy. Suffering prepares us for joy. Suffering makes us salty. Let's read our text. Matthew chapter 5. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? That's Jesus speaking and asking. It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. Interesting, hey? So what was said before that? Because this is a sermon. You don't just jump in and take one sentence out of context. Let's go back a little bit. Matthew 5, 10-12. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you, persecute you, utter all kinds, not just one kind, all kinds of evil. Evil, imagine that, uttered against you, falsely on my account. What is the response? Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So what is the context of salt and light? Suffering. Being accused, lied against, rejoicing. They were not heroes in their day, the prophets. They weren't heroes. Jeremiah was not a hero. Ezekiel was not a hero. We think that they're heroes because, whoa, they wrote a book of the Bible. If you were with Ezekiel and Jeremiah, you're being a cistern, sewage, left alone, no food. The degree to which you have suffered, waited, not had, is the degree to which you will be salty. That's where salt comes from, the salt mine. Where is God in our suffering? The delays. Do they happen outside of God's sovereign gaze? Is God in a cupboard, not looking, not interested? Salt is the answer to that question. It is the evidence of our Father in all things, in us. The flavor of heaven in His children. Salt is from your Father. Let's go to Mark, because Jesus said the same thing there. Mark 9. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, how will you be made salt again? So the same thing. Let's look at the context in Mark when Jesus was speaking. Whoever causes one of the least of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and thrown in the sea. And if your hand causes you to sin, cut him off. For it is better for you to enter life crippled than with 2 hands and go to hell, to the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to sin, cut him off. It is better for you to enter life lame than with 2 feet and be thrown into hell. And if your eye, you get the picture. It's just getting worse, isn't it? So what's the context in Mark? The context is the danger of temptation to sin, the need to be ruthless with sin, and the danger of eternal damnation. Danger. Everyone will encounter fires of trouble and pain and heartache, and these are going to make you salty. They're going to make you salty. Those alone, the very fires, the very trouble that you're enduring right now are the crucibles for your saltiness. And we need to see our Father's hand in all of that. If he is not Lord of all, he is no Lord at all. If he's not over all those things, then what's the point? If you can't talk to him about that, he's weak. Interestingly, that phrase, salted with fire, in some translations, salted with salt, and I've been puzzled by that. The other day I was reading in Ezekiel, and it talked about Ezekiel 16, about it's like a prophetic picture of Judah and Israel being unfaithful to the Lord, and God walks past in the picture, and there's these 2 children that have been born but abandoned, and God says through Ezekiel, no one washed you with salt. So back in those days in the Middle Eastern culture, they used to wash babies with salt. So like, wash them, I don't know. Some of the thinking is, we don't know exactly why, but it was to just clean them. It was to strengthen their skin so they didn't bruise, or the skin didn't sort of, they're quite young. So they could be handled more easily without bruising. So who knows? But there it is. A bit of an application for salt, washing these little babies to look after them. In Luke's gospel, Jesus says the same thing. I'm not going to go through that one. Let's move on. It talks about the cost of following Jesus amongst our family relationships. So when our family rejects us. So yesterday I was at a conference, and there was a guy from Afghanistan. He's been abandoned by his family for his faith. 4 years, no contact with his family. Don't know how many of us have done that. So hatred from your own family, cut off from don't come to our house. You're not welcome. We're not going to speak to you if you phone them. Same with 2 Iranian brothers. Change their names. That's what Jesus is talking about. Salt. Are those guys salty? I could tell you when I spoke to them, I felt like weeping. I was just hearing this. I just had to listen. The English was a bit broken, but I understood through the language of love. You can understand what these people have walked through. They were salty. There was no doubt. There was salt that they had. So you are the salt. We're going to walk through the text now. You are to be salty salt. Salty salt. Our entire purpose as Christ followers, from God's perspective, from Jesus who was speaking, is tied up in this statement. For it is the definition of how we should relate to the whole world around us. You are the salt of the earth. We can't live in isolation. Salt exists to be poured out, mixed. Our flavor is to be noticed by the world. We're to be into food, all kinds of food. We're the flavor, bring out the flavor. We're to be peculiar and yet normal, salt. Life-giving. Our taste must be unlike anything else in the world. That the world must never have tasted what we bring. It must be salt. And how does that happen? Let's say you've lost everything. You've lost a big part of your life, a part of your life that is really important. It's just been withdrawn. It's no longer there. You can't go back to that anymore. It's a career or something. You can no longer do that. And people come up to you, and they expect a sort of a well of self-pity. But what do they find instead? They find someone who's bubbling with joy, and they scratch their heads. What is going on? How is that person saying that, doing that, living like that, and so full of joy when everything has been stripped away and there's nothing left? There's nothing. The cupboard is bare. It's empty. Why are you so full of joy? And so that is what Jesus is talking about, that type of salt, that type of joy that the world, they just stare at it. It's breathtaking. It's unusual. You should be complaining and grumbling. You should be self-pity all over you. It should be like that. But there's something different about that. Is what salt is. That's what our saltiness is. We are nation changers, society upenders, order bringers, tasty, salty, noticed. Not by pointing to ourselves. We'll hear just now about the light bit. The only way that we can point to Jesus in our suffering is if we've suffered. If you haven't suffered, do you know what you do? If you're just you without suffering, you tend to talk about you a bit too much. Suffering just takes the edge off that, and it just points people to Jesus. Whatever it is that you're doing, you can tell someone who's suffered because they talk almost nothing about themselves. They've got nothing to do with it. They're not interested in themselves. There's something about Jesus that is just birthed in them, and you draw a straight line to suffering. That's all it is. That's all that's going to happen. Salt is entirely different to the medium or food to which it is applied. We are by definition different. You're not the same. You're different. The world around us is worshipping safety and all that sort of. They worship safety. You get insurance policies in case things go wrong. It's all planned. But us, it's different. We're not to be safe. We can take a risk for the kingdom. You're to be a flavor. There needs to be a flavor about your life that is risky, radical, different to the safety-worshipping people around you. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. I want to be safe and secure. It's all fine. And then there's a different flavor. This person walks into the office, and it's different. That's what salt is. It's different. Let's just look at salt. Salt is in every food. Did you know that? Medical students can validate that. Salt works silently, unseen. You never hear a pop or a crack. It brings out the flavor. It's hidden like yeast. You can't really see salt. You put it in, whoa, gone. All food is bland without salt. It's just, you've tasted without salt, and I need a bit more salt. That's why there's salt on the table. Show me a house that has no salt, and there's still salt. Because do you know what? Even in the food, there's always salt. They've added it. It's in there. You can't get away from salt. In this room, there's salt. Where? In our bodies. Physically, there's salt inside us. There's salt here. Salt is everywhere. You are the salt of the world. You're just sprinkled. You're everywhere. Little crevice here. How did you get in there? I'm a grain of salt. I fit anywhere. I can get anywhere. But salt can only be used once. Have you ever tried to take it out? It's gone, isn't it? One go. All through history, the availability of salt and its ability to preserve food has been pivotal to civilization, every single one. All life depends on its chemical properties to survive. It's been used to preserve food for thousands of years. And so salt has played a prominent role in determining the power and location of the world's great cities. Salt. The phrase worth your weight in gold has been used since Roman times. In fact, even before that, you find that in Lamentations 4. The Bible's often the origin of these little phrases. I promise you, look them up. Lamentations 4. Until the European Middle Ages, salt was so valuable that it was called white gold. And eventually, the salt bit was replaced with gold. And so now you've got that phrase which is worth your weight in gold. It used to be worth your weight in salt because salt was precious. But now it's gold. And so salt was replaced by gold. It's up there. Gold, silver, that's where salt is. Only a very small amount of salt is needed before it becomes a little bit too much. We were meant to be scattered. Okay, that's just our DNA. We're meant to be scattered. You're not meant to stay inside the little shaker thing. It's a shaker. Drinking a small amount of salt water can help you rehydrate, but too much salt, fatal. Try drinking salt water when you're out lost on the sea. The sea combines salt and water as a purifier. It kills harmful bacteria. It's like one great purification plant. That's what the sea is. You wonder how the world stays clean. It's just things go into the sea, and then the sea's still clean somehow. Salt. Salt in the oceans is the driver of the world's circulation and currents. Density changes due to salinity changes, and temperature changes at the surface produce changes in buoyancy, which cause the sinking and rising of water masses. Changes climate. Salt. You want to change the planet? Salt. Salt is at the heart of it all. Salt. So my dad's a nutritionist, animal nutritionist. He says salt and water are regarded as essential nutrients above all the rest because they control what goes into cells, what we need and what must be taken out of the cells, all the junk. So the salt regulates that. Salt is the only nutrient that cattle treat with any intelligence. I see salt. I'm going to go lick that little salt cube. And they're really intelligent. It gets them going. Salt regulates temperature in our bodies. Do you get the picture? Salt is so important. That's just salt. And Jesus said, you are salt. That's how important you are to this world. It prevents decay, flavors, it preserves, it's vital, it's everywhere, affects all of life. It gives life, but too much can be fatal. Controls ocean currents, controls the climate. You're the salt of the earth. One salty Christian is enough to flavor the whole earth. You're like gold. Did you hear that? Worth your weight in gold, salt, gold. Christians are made for mixing, as I said, being in every single place. Having a purpose to be mixed can make us sometimes feel isolated because you're mixed. You're not. We can feel discouraged when there are so few, so small. That's quite fitting for this morning, but that is okay. There is never much salt in any meal. There's never a massive pile. Ask the chefs and the cooks among us. They've got salt, but they don't overdo it. There's always enough. There's always enough people. Aren't there? There's always enough salt. God provides. And that is why often we feel so strengthened when we come together, because we join together other salt, and we feel really salty, and we leave feeling salty. The flavor is restored. We've come into the salt cellar for a brief moment before we get shaken out during the week. So we are in the world. That's a fact. We can't get away from it. We need to earn money. We need to eat, drink, breathe air. We have to get out. We cannot hide. You're the salt of the earth. We are out. So what are we to do then? What are we called to do as Christians in Scotland, where the laws don't actually reflect the kingdom anymore? What are we to do? How are we to be salt? The answer to this is, let's see what God says about the world, and then we'll see what our purpose is. We're called to be the salt of the earth, and that means the earth is decaying, rotting. We are to be salt that prevents that, slows that down. That's what salt used to do back in the days. They applied salt to the meat and it would last a long time. So we are like that. The world is decaying, and you and I are sprinkled as mercy on the world to stop that decay, to slow it down. You know, in Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot was in Sodom and Gomorrah. He took the wrong choice. But God wouldn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah until Lot was taken out to the next town. He was a preserver of the entire city, the whole region. And that's what you may be like in your office. You may be that grain of salt. That's all that's needed, preserving all those people. You look at them, walk past them. I am keeping you alive. I'm keeping you from the pit of think about yourself in your office, in your college. Think about the effect. Like Lot, you're preventing the story ending. The curtains are going to come down one day, and you, in that position, are holding that back. You are mercy in that place. That's what salt is. You are the only plan that God has for this world. There's no other plan. It's not a pile of sugar anyway. It's salt. Salt and salt alone is going to do it. So we are God's mercy to a sinful world. We're preventing decay. I'm just going to quickly just go through. It's a parenthesis here. It's about how we should deal with maybe politics, because that's a bit funny at the moment. Things are going on. I just want to just briefly talk into that. How, as a church, because we can be tempted to jump right in and say a few things, and then a flash of brilliance, and then, oh, I didn't mean to say that. And then someone said that, and then I've angered that, and then it's all a big mess. So as a church, what should we do? How do we address all this stuff flying around? It's tempting to jump in. And Rodney talked about us being a prophetic people. I'd encourage you to listen to his talk on being a prophet to the nation and how some people have gone wrong and they've sort of gone into the political thing and they've spoken and it's gone a bit off center. So go listen to that. So if we spend all our time fighting the laws of the nation, protesting, shouting at a particular group of people who sin in a particular way, do you know what we do? We just end up alienating that group. That's all. That's the end result of that. Make a bit of noise maybe, but we alienate that group. And we shut the door to that section of society hearing the gospel from the same mouth. Because you shout, and okay, here's the gospel. It's a strange thing. Can you see how strange that is? It's hard. And so we lose our focus when we as a church, we begin to as a church. I'm going to get to individuals in a second. But as a church, we can't say VH has this position on that political party, or that just will not work. Can you see that? If we spend all our time fighting those laws, we lose our primary call, which is to evangelize the world and plant churches. But as individuals, that's different. As individuals, we are salt sprinkled all over the show. We're in that meeting over there. We work for SU over there, in the hospital over there, and in that place. And we can say something that alters that whole place. Someone says something that's political, we can say something. And I don't agree with that, that's why. And can you see how the individuals scattered en masse have more of an impact than a church making we stand for this political party or this position? Oh, I was going to be thinking about the gospel. Can you see how difficult it is for a church to have a position? But individuals, the opportunities are endless. So I'd encourage you as individuals to say things, to do things, to be on a committee, to speak up, to write an email. But as a church, let's not be tangled up in that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But if salt has lost its taste, what are we to do? That's the question that Jesus asked. The problem is the falling number of salty Christians. So what do we do if salt has lost its taste? Christians who spend all their time concealed in the salt cellar and are never in the food. So if you're salt, but you spend all your life in the cellar, you're in a cellar. It's a bit dark in there. It's not nice, is it? And it's not nice for the food either, I might say, if I was food. And you're also telling a little bit of a lie about the most important thing in your life. The most important thing is that you have this relationship with Jesus. And you tell that when you're poured out into the food, not when you're hidden inside the salt cellar. That's where the stories come out. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill can never be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand that gives light to all the world. In the same way, Let your light shine before men, so they may see the good works you do. So they look at you, but they give glory to the Father. It's a strange thing. That's what I was saying earlier. If you've suffered, that is an easy connection. If you haven't suffered and you're still about yourself and you're doing this, it doesn't work, does it? But if suffering has caused you to do that, or even people just look automatically, that is salt in action. But how does salt lose its taste? That's Jesus' question. If salt is exposed to water or diluted, the sodium chloride is dissolved and removed, and the salt loses its essence or saltiness. It still looks like salt, but it's no longer useful. It's been used. My brother is a research professor in chemistry in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and this is what he said. Salt can't, from a chemical perspective, actually lose its saltiness. It's such a stable compound, apart from a change to its chemical structure. So it cannot actually lose its saltiness. There's something encouraging in there for us, that for us as believers, it's actually not possible to lose our saltiness. So maybe what Jesus is referring to is we've lost our purpose. We've gone off a little bit. We think that we're about this instead of that. And so it's not so much we've lost our saltiness, because that's almost impossible. The definition of salt, you cannot lose your saltiness. And that's why it's a funny question that Jesus is asking. So maybe we've lost our purpose, if that's the case. And this may be one way where we become weak in our faith. We avoid our God-given design, which is to be poured out. And we resist that. We stay in the cellar, and we stay there in the dark. And a dark place is not nice. Try going in a cupboard for all your life. It's not nice. For a day, for an hour, a minute. It's horrible. We can measure our taste by asking those people around us, do you see something different? Ask your non-Christian friends. Notice anything? Or, prompt them. What do you think? See what they say. Are you someone who people say, they have turned the world upside down? They are acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus. Is that what people say about you? There is another king. Bit of a revolution in the college. There is another king. Charles, another king. How can saltiness be restored? How can it be restored? That's Jesus' question. How can salt be made salty again? Is it possible? Is this a threat from Jesus to say it cannot be made salt, it cannot be restored? Or is this Jesus being merciful and saying, I'm willing to restore salt? I don't know. It's one of those questions that can go either way. I think because of the context, it's probably a warning. Because we looked at the context, there's judgment, there's, scoop out your eye. It's really terrifying words from Jesus. So I think this is Jesus warning us. Don't do it. Don't try and become unsalty. Don't try and lose your flavor. What's the point of that? Don't try hard to lose your flavor. Can it be restored? Maybe it can't. Watch out. And Jesus says, salt like that is no good for anything. So salt without saltiness is just like white stuff. Just white. Like white is blank. It's like a white piece, it's blank. That's how artists start, with a blank piece of paper. It's the art is when you put stuff on there, but at the beginning it's nothing. It's worthless. It's just blank. I guess modern art, maybe you could take a white piece of paper and say, here. But most forms of art, there's a sense that you have to add stuff in there. There has to be a bit of, but that white, it's just blank. So it is no longer good for anything. Without me, you can do nothing, Jesus said in John 15. Except there's a use for it, to be thrown out. That's a poor use, wouldn't you say? I've got one use for you, I'm going to throw you away. You're rubbish. That's Jesus' words. I'm not making that up. I'm just quoting Jesus. Nothing good about that salt that's lost its flavor except being thrown out. And then trampled under people's feet. It just becomes soil. It's gone from the table to the floor. What do you do with things that fall on the floor? You know, there's that funny rule, that's rubbish, because you're not meant to eat food that's been on the floor. You don't. You shouldn't. You get sick, and then it's the problem for everyone. And you're out the game for a few weeks. Don't pick up food from the floor. Just throw it away. Trample on it. Light. Let's move on to light now. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Everything about light is almost the opposite to salt. Salt is hidden, sprinkled. Light is you can see it. It's apparent. It's very different to salt, isn't it? Very, very different. It goes everywhere. Light describes what it does. It goes into the dark places. It even goes into that little salt cellar when that person's hiding. The light goes in there. But I would say salt is always before light. Who you are, your saltiness precedes what we do, light. It is very important to notice that order, lest we try to be light by doing salty activities. This is known as legalism. Our lives need to speak before our lips even say a little word. Okay, so you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. People don't light lamps, put them under baskets, but on a stand. Let your light shine before others. It's almost like the light is bursting out. Let your light, it's almost like it's bursting out. Okay, shall I? Like it bursts out. Let your light. It's not force it out, it's let it out. Can you see that? Let the light shine. Let it spill out and flow out. The intention of light is to bless other people, is to shine on the floor before them, to light the way. Your word is a light. It's not to shine in people's eyes. There's nothing worse than in a dark place getting someone to, it's just horrible, isn't it? Our light must shine before people and give them, they can see now, they can see in the darkness. Your purpose is to show people a sight of heaven, a glimpse of the glory that is to be revealed, the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Do you know what? In a dark world, even a tiny candle stands out, a tiny little weeny candle. And back in the days, the brightness of lamps and lights was measured by candle power. So they used to group candles together. Okay, that's 10 candle power, that's 100. So flashlights, they're measured by candle power. And it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It's like when we come together, there's this more than the little ones on their own. And so when we come together, there is more candle power, and we get measured. The light is more powerful coming together. And what does candlelight measure? It measures luminous intensity. It's used to describe the luminous intensity of high-powered flashlights, spotlights. Narrow-beamed lights of all sorts can have very high candle power. So it's like a very focused beam. That's what candle power is measuring. So just consider this for a moment. Who is Jesus talking to? He's not talking to perfect people. He's talking to weak people. And that's the wonder of the whole thing. God chooses the weak things in this world. He chooses those that are not. Are you not? Not is not a nice, like it's, zero is okay, but not is like minus. Are you not? God chooses you to be salt and light. And this is what Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So it's because of our relationship to Jesus that there's any light that comes out of us, that breaks out. We find that light actually exposes darkness. So sometimes when you say things at college and the workplace, people get a bit, why? Because light is just shining on things and revealing things. And that's how, as individuals, we have this prophetic edge. We shine light on things and just let the light shine. It's light. It does its job. It reveals things. It's powerful. I want to just bring us into application now, and I want us to look at the brief example of Naomi and Ruth. So living salty, light-filled lives like Naomi, who even in bitterness produced followers of God. Naomi produced Ruth. Ruth was attracted to her life, and she was so keen to join the people of God. And I don't think Naomi was a particularly fascinating, her life was sorrow. She lost all her family. And yet, that spoke to Ruth somehow. Let's just read it. I'm going to read through a few of the verses. So, Ruth chapter 1. So Naomi heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people. So they've gone to Moab. All the family dies, and she hears God is on the move. So she sets out from Moab with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Orpah says chairs, but Ruth clings. Clings. Koala, clings. That's what people in the world do when they find the authentic. They cling. Why are you so joyful? You should be complaining. I'm going to cling to you. What is it about you? What is it about you? I'm going to cling to that. There's an authentic something going on there. I don't know. I can't explain it. This is what Naomi said. See your sister, Orpah. She's gone back to her people, to her gods. Return after your sister. Go. Ruth. Whoa, Ruth is amazing. Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I'm going to go there. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I'm going to be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you. And when Naomi saw that she was so determined to go there, zip. So, what's the application? Naomi heard of God's work in Judah. She was listening to the tune of heaven, even from Moab. She heard the tune of the kingdom, and this made her act. Okay, you've got to get out the salt cellar, got to act. You hear God saying something, you act. You've got to get out the salt cellar. But there was a freedom about her, have you noticed? She released her 2 daughters-in-law. She didn't say, you must follow me. I'm the people of God. I'm a Christian. Follow me. Chain. No. Go back. It's freedom. And so Ruth opts in. And that's what you'll find in your colleges and places where people opt into the kingdom. They cannot resist a salty, light-filled person. They cannot. They cling. You'll find that. You'll just find that. You're like glue. They can I have lunch with you? Where do you live? Can you just stay away a bit? Can you see? It becomes like that. When you have that flavor of, if you've been through suffering and there's joy still in the offering, and it's a mystery. I want to hang out with that person. Hang out with salty people, and you will make changes to your life. Ruth hung out with Naomi. Her life changed big time. She's in the lineage of Jesus. Ruth, because of Naomi. People will make decisions. People will change. People will take steps. They'll become radical, risk-taking people. They will not be worshiping safety anymore. But you will also start talking differently. This is application. Okay, we're thinking application here. You'll start speaking. How does a Moabite, Ruth, talk like that? Where did she learn that language from? It didn't just come in her head, I promise you. She learnt it from Naomi. That's the only source. Naomi is the only Israelite in the whole area. And Ruth has heard her talking and how she longs for these people of God that she talks about. She longs to be amongst them. It's become her obsession. So you're going to make people around you talk differently. Their vocabulary will change. The way they think will change. Naomi made Ruth cling to her. Now that is a response. Who's ever had someone cling to them? It's quite something, like have someone cling to your foot. Like my daughters used to do that when they were small, and it's quite a pain. You're stuck, like you can't shake it off. It's just like, When someone clings to you, they mean business. They mean wherever you're going, you're stuck. I'm stuck with you. Do people do that to you? Are they sticking to you? To your salty, light. I want to just taste that flavor. Come on. So Ruth's never been to Judah. Naomi is her only reference point amongst a sea of Moabites. Outside of, there's a whole sea of worldly people out there. One little flick of salt is enough to change them, I promise you. She did not have the option of hiding, says Naomi. She lived her life before her family, and the fruit is Ruth. Her good works did more talking than her mouth, but her mouth also spoke. Is this not God glorifying, this whole story of Ruth and Naomi? I'm just amazed. Could have been so different. When someone lives like that, it is so utterly unnatural. It's so amazing and wonderful. It tastes so good. It's so joyful. Suffering for the sake of Christ is startling. It's breathtaking. Someone who suffers joyfully. It doesn't make any sense. Joyful suffering for the sake of Christ is startling, spectacular, salty, and light-giving simultaneously. It does all those things. When you suffer and enjoy and give joy out, the taste of life that people are aching for is to see a person who's happy during deep pain. I'm not saying go seek pain. Please don't do that. Give us more trouble. People like Ruth want to see people, even a people, a community, who have something so deep, so unshakable, so invincible, that when all around them gives way and crashes, when it all crashes to the ground and there's disappointment and doesn't make sense, it's taken away, and you're just waiting, their joy remains. That is salty. And some people, like Ruth, are not going to hate us. I promise you. People are not going to hate us if we're salty and full of light. They won't. Just be salty and light. Most people will just cling to you if we go by this story. And they're going to join us. They're going to be converted. Ruth became an Israelite of Israelites. Listen to how she spoke. She got in with the culture and she did some radical stuff. Boaz. Anyway, let's land. Maybe the band can come up. Do you want to be tasty? Do you want to be producing gospel flavor in other people? Preserving society? Precious before God. Precious. Worth your weight in salt. Comparable to gold. Yet ubiquitous everywhere. Scattered across the city, one in a school there, one in a catering business over there, someone in finance, someone Edinburgh City Mission, spread out all over the city. Effective in small quantities. Not needing a big pile, just small quantities. Scattered. Yeah. What do your friends say about you? What does Ruth say about you? Do people see your Savior? Do they taste your salt? Do they see your light on the path before them? Are you a light that cannot be hidden? No matter how big the thing is that they're trying to put over you, the light just breaks through a crack. Somehow the light gets out. Let your light shine. Are you a light that cannot be hidden? Are you such a light as that? Some of you may feel like you've lost your purpose. And this may be evident by this feeling of, I'm not salty anymore. Come to Jesus today, now. Let's be restored together. Let's be salt, restoring salt. Let's be washed over. Like Rodney said on the weekend away, he said, it's not that we need our whole body to be washed, it's just the feet. Just the feet. We need to wash the feet, and then we can just start walking again. We're clean. Some of you are in danger of being trampled underfoot. Yeah, the crowds are going for out there. Some of you are in danger of being trampled underfoot. There's a warning from Jesus. Are you in danger of being trampled, thrown out? Maybe you need to respond to that. So I'm just going to end there. Maybe the worship team can go, but I just want you to respond in one of those two ways. Do you need to come back to Jesus? Lord Jesus, would you restore anyone here who's feeling a little bit unsalty, even though by definition that is not true. That is not true. Salt can never lose its saltiness. Just come to Jesus. Just be refreshed, restored. Enjoy his presence. Enjoy the presence of the people of God. Let's just sing a response prayer. Amen.